So the question is, how are we doing blowing JPM short call strike out of the water? If it's a magnet pulling us, what does positioning need to look like in order for us to keep going? If and when we exceed the 50-15 level, can JPM pull us back down, or are we free to go to, say, 5,200? So without even referring to charts, when we have a short call strike, so let's just start kind of with the concept. So when you have a short call strike and you're below it, you're out of the money. And so on our side of the table, deltas are going from a negative level to towards zero, right? So in that case, as our book goes more positive, the dealer's book goes more negative, just as a reflexive thing, and we get there's just a buying pressure. Now I'm talking in isolation, and I'm just talking about short call strike. I'm not talking about all the distribution across the OI surface, which complicates the statements here, but just in general, 50-15 has got 39,000. If I recall correctly, it's 39,000 short calls there, plus or minus, whatever the number is. It's a big number. It's a big number that's not liquid and is sitting, right? It's literally present, it's influencing, and it's not moving. And it's not moving, contrary to what you might read on FinTwit. It's not moving until the end of March, because that's the prospectus. That's what they do. When you're out of the money on a short strike, a short call strike, like I said, going from a negative deltas towards zero, so your book's getting longer, the dealer's book's getting shorter, and there's this upward pressure. And that upward pressure, all things considered, as price is adjusted up, and let's just keep it really simple, let's just say that upward pressure results in pushing us up underneath that 40-15 or 50-15, excuse me. So now we're sitting at that strike, and we call it a delta node. We call it all sorts of different things. But the idea here is why would we stop? Arguably, it's in the overhead, and even though it's a call, it's a short call, and generally above and below the short call, we have long calls. So you can imagine there's this little ripple in the matrix right at that area where there's what we call a sign change, and there's Gamma does certain things in that area with, again, we're just talking about the strike. But let's just say price, to Gary's question, let's just say price continues up, goes up to 20, 50, 25, 50, 30, whatever the case. So now what's happening? Well, now that thing is in the money, and the delta flips on that when that occurs, and the charm flips on it. So instead of it decreasing towards zero, since it's in the money, it's now increasing towards -1 or -100, depending on how you notionalize it. And so now our book's getting shorter, the dealer's book's getting longer, and you get this pressure downward. Well, we crossed over, and so the pinning mechanism is as I just described. The pinning mechanism for this single contract is pushing us upward as we approach from below, but it's also pushing us downward to 50-50 from above, and that's why we start pinning at 15-15, or at least why we believe we start pinning around these major strikes. They're not liquid, they're present, and they're big, right? And as we go through time, as we march through February and into March, the domination of this thing is going to just continue to grow. It's going to continue to exert. Now, we're pretty far out still, right? We're 7 weeks out, and I think we're, still a fairly good distance away. And if you look at the gamma surface of this thing, it's there, but it's not, it's not huge. So there's probably other things going on. I know there were a lot of short calls above us. So there's probably a lot of this that's kind of pulling us up. And some of that is neutralizing and all that junk. So now let's park that thought experiment and just say, Gary asks, what does it take to get over that? I'm not sharing my screen, but I'm just going to open up the web app. I'm not sharing my screen right now. I'm on my travel laptop, but let me just refresh for SPXP, because this is a PM settled. We don't really care about the AMs, and I'm just going to refresh for all expiries here. And I want to look at the open interest that's associated at 50-15. So it's at minus 33,000 as of today. But it's actually gone up a little more negative. It was down, I think, a couple of days ago. I'd have to check. I haven't looked at it a day or two, but I think it was down like to minus 28. So we've actually had a little more activity there, either long calls being closed or even more short kind of stack up on top of it. I don't know. Have to go look into the details. But I think to Gary's question, as long as this, this kind of ripple or rip in the matrix exists, I think this becomes that pinning mechanism that we just described, right? Above and below. Now, that was describing a single contract structure, 39,000 of them short, sitting at 50-50. But we've got stuff all the way up above it, and we've got stuff below it, right? So that kind of mixes up the punch bowl a little bit here. And frankly, the composition of what's in the money, out of the money, short calls above us, etc., I think is going to have an influence. But looking at the structure right now, so I just went to the web tool, the web app, and I ran SPXP. I've got everything turned on, and I can just isolate, the end of the month. So in this case, it would be the 28th. You've got 38,000 still sitting there for that day, but you've got a whole bunch. If you hit select all on the web tool and you turn all the expiries on, it's down to 33,000, negative 33,000. So Gary, what we've seen in the past, and this is probably the direct answer, we've seen that number has to get smaller. We have experienced that with the Fund 1 numbers. That's the biggest one that JPM has. They come out quarterly, and this is the end of March is the big Papa Bear here. And so I personally would like to see that number get down to the same order of magnitude as the long calls, the net long calls or net OI that we're seeing in that vicinity. Right now it's a minus 33,000, just above it, sitting up at 40 or at 50.25 or 25,000 long, right? And then up at 50.50, which is half level, we got 28,000. I would like to see the number come down into the, upper, I don't know, call it lower team or, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 zone, still negative, but allow us to start neutralizing. So how do we neutralize it? We know it's not liquid. We know it's not going away. The only way to really neutralize it is to pound it with long calls. And if we get people who are buying, speculating, like right now, right? We're at 49.95 on the gold bar, right? So we closed at 49.94.94. So now we're close enough that people are going to start buying that out of the money calls because that's what people do. And I would anticipate while we're close to this number, they're going to start, speculating because actually this is really close to where the gamma peak is for a single contract. 1 to 2 strikes is where you start getting the maximum convexity as you go up. So I'm thinking, if we stay here for a while, people start pounding long calls onto 50-50 and just watch the net OI number over time. If you see that net OI number or the call OI number getting less negative, more positive, so minus 33,000, minus 32,000, etc., over the course of days, we could bridge above that. We've seen it in the past. We've seen, 10,000 or 15,000 negative get bridged in the past, and then we race up. We've also seen we have experience, we've been doing this now for a couple of years, we see that actually be a blockage, right? It just kind of keeps pulling us down because that mechanism that I was describing earlier, and it just kind of pins us around here. So we'll just have to wait and see. So I don't know for sure, Gary. Nobody really does, but I think that's one mechanism to be aware of, and just the thing to watch for is the call OI getting less negative, more positive on a day-over-day basis.